Was excited to be with the guys today and get going on this week's preparation. And certainly, Saturday night didn't go like you'd want it to, but there's some great takeaways from it, and there always is every game. And so we got to build on the things that we have been doing well. Really got 6 games in and 6 to go, and you hope to earn the right to play more. And so I think we got to build on the things that we've been doing well, and certainly each individual and each unit, and therefore as a team, find the areas that we can get better at and get better.
Well,
I guess you had to have the first question. Good job by everyone.
I think after the game you mentioned the inability to convert third downs,
Right.
keep the ball, help your defense. In addition to quarterback play, which is the focus, what were some factors that resulted in the inefficiency on third down?
Yeah, I mean, you go through it, and the first one, they've playing man, and they've got a hole player, and the hole player knocks it down. So, can you space it a little bit better? Can you, is there another option for the ball to go? Then the next two, we have miscommunication, not on the same page protection-wise. And then, we had another one where you got a chance to make a play and we don't. And then off on location, I think on one, if not two. So you've got to do all those things. Or is it getting to a more manageable, I think we had 1 3rd and short in that. So you always have to, offensively, third down's huge because it gives you more plays, more kicks at the can. In the end of the game, you look up and we had less than 50 plays, and so those are fewer attempts to score. So, certainly, it was a good defense we're playing against, and each week, each defense presents different challenges. And Illinois, it's a talented defense, and a ton of respect for Lovey and what they're doing. And, it won't be the same challenges, but it'll be new challenges. We've got to rise up in those key moments, and third downs typically are key moments in games.
Well, you haven't had to deal with too many losses like this in your time here, if any, and maybe the Alabama game way back when. How do you deal with it with your team, seeing as how it's kind of a different thing that happened here?
Sure, and I think that how I choose to deal with the team on everything is honest, and it's also, I think, consistent. So whether you win or lose, and whether you win big or win by a small margin, whether you lose big by a big margin or lose a close one, I think that you stay consistent. And it was interesting, Ryan Connolly last week talked about to the team about how you can't accept something in victory. All right, there's things that come up that you can get better at, and he pointed out some specifics that he did, and you flip it the same way. There's some really good things. The score, the final score wasn't how you wanted it, but there was some really tremendous individual efforts and individual plays made by guys. And so, that's the beauty of this game, is you have to play it, and you got to go out and play the game. And so I think consistency is probably how you handle it. And we've been fortunate we haven't had to. And really not as much me, but the guys that have played. And so, the best way, and I think it's always easier for us that, you can process it Saturday night, and then Sunday you watch the film, and whether you're a coach or a player, we all left here watching and thinking about Illinois. And that's the great thing, is it's no different than when you play a game. How do you focus on the next play? And for us, we got the next opponent, and that's Illinois, and how do we maximize the opportunity that is this week?
Well, speaking of that, it looks like Illinois' quarterback is not afraid to run that little zone read or whatever. I don't know if Patterson burned you guys a lot Saturday, but there were a couple key plays. Is that something you've got to shore up this week, not only with the backers, but whether it's a corner on that side? What happened on a couple of
I think that it's absolutely something that you've got to shore up, right? And that's a good example of, okay, what happened? How do we learn from it and go forward? And it may come out of a different formation, it'll be a different look, but that's the one thing that you can count on is, especially when teams have that as a part of their offense, if you've been susceptible to it, that you'll see it again. And I think it's really each individual truly knowing and trusting their responsibility. And you hear us talk about that, when you play a spread team, every guy's got to do their part. And then when the ball declares, you all rally to it. But part of doing your job is knowing and trusting that someone else is doing his part. And you can't try to do too much. And you certainly have to do enough to do your part in it. And so I think that's, what happens. Then the toughest thing to fight is when something like that does happen, then do you trust your rules or does it cause hesitation? And that's what you've got to work through and eliminate.
Jason.
Well, it seems like Olive's been a little more active and productive this year. What's impressed you about the way he's kind of taken his game up this year?
Well, I think that Olive is a good player, and quite honestly, we've needed him to do that, and I think that's what's. I remember Coach Alvarez said this. The first time I heard it was my first year of being assistant with him, and talked about your seniors playing their best football, and I think we've got a number of them that are doing that, and Olive certainly is that, and we need him to. He's got to play within himself, but how can he get the most out of himself? And I think he's had a good approach. When you say, how is he doing it? I think he's approached it the right way from the off season on, and I think he's playing the games. And I think he's, any older player is that much smarter. They kind of know how they're being attacked, knowing what their job is in the defense of each call. And I think also knowing where is your freedom within the call, so that you can truly trust yourself to go play and make a play.
Well, you had to do some things in the secondary because of injury that I'm sure you didn't want to. But when you looked at the tape, guys like Pearson, Wild Goose, and even Burrell, who hadn't played a lot on defense, how did they hold up in certain moments? Not that they were perfect, but what did they contribute?
Yeah, I thought with the last word, how did they contribute? I think they all contributed a number of different ways. EB was around the ball. Reggie did a nice job and had a caused fumble and a couple early, trusted his eyes and filled it and had a physical presence to it. And I think, Goose he's continuing to come. And I think that, you're seeing that. First is, can I play? And then when I play, do I, if I do some things well, that there's some confidence and continue to build. And he needs to continue that. We all need to continue to work on it. But I think they did contribute, and I thought there was some good, certainly. And every one of them got some areas where they can keep working on and clean up, and yet it was good. I was proud of the way the guys just kind of jumped in, and didn't know how it would play out, but I thought they did a lot of good.
Jason.
Well, after watching the tape from Saturday, what things did you see in the passing game that maybe didn't allow you guys to get going, or maybe you need to clean up this week?
Well, I think that you've got to win, and this week we're going to face a team that will play a lot of man, and so can you win your individual matchup? And when you do, you've got to be able to create separation, and the ball's got to get there in time. And for that to happen, you've got to have protection. There's nothing magical about this game. That's why it's a great game. You got to be able to make plays, and it takes all 11. And there's times where we did it, and those are good plays. And then when you don't, you try to get better at them.
Paul, we've talked about this before. Your philosophy of going for it on fourth down, feel of the game, field position. There was a sequence. I think you guys are down 21-7, about the 40+ of Michigan. You punted. I'm assuming you're thinking, pin them, see if we can get a turnover or ride our defense. Does your mindset change if your punter can't pin them deep and it's a touchback and the net result isn't what you want?
Right. Those are all the things that that you try to assess. And I think you said it right. I mean, the ideal is, okay, can you back them up, put them on a long field? Now, can you maybe have a fresh set of downs with possibly similar field position? And when that works and you get the ball back and then you go score, that's a good thing. And when you don't, it's not as good. But you try to set, and you try to gauge it too. You know, how have we been doing in the punt and all those things. So, but every one of those you try to, no different with players, you try to go back and look, okay, was this the right, you know, and that's where lucky to do, you know, a lot of what we do post game is kind of while it's on our mind, you know, okay, what about this? Where are we at with this one? How would we have handled it if it comes up again? And you just try to keep assessing it. And those are certain situations, and then, like you said, you got the course of the game, and it's really kind of how your three units are doing and how they play off of each other.
Well, you mentioned earlier that Illinois has talent defensively. Just
Mm-hmm.
from watching them, why do you think they haven't been able to really quite get it together consistently on that side of the ball?
Well, I don't know, and you know, I think when you get ready for an opponent, you know, you take a look at them, and the first thing is, you know, you study their scheme, and then you study their personnel, and you know, we played against a number of these guys last year, and know what they did to us, and how we had to fight for the yards, and so that's why I, you know, got a ton of respect for them, and it's our players know it. Like, we don't. It's not like we're trying to manufacture them. They know it's a talented football team, and like I said, I've got a ton of respect for Lovey, and we know we're going to be in for a fist fight.
Paul, how do you view Alex's development this year? Has he taken the step that you were hoping he'd take, or maybe not?
No, I think in a number of areas, I think he has. And, you know, certainly, you know, we weren't as productive as we'd like to be, you know, last game. But I think that he has taken steps forward. And I also believe that there's areas that he can, you know, some that showed up, you know, Saturday night, and some that have showed up earlier, and there's areas that we can continue to work. But I've loved his approach and his willingness to get better, but no, I don't think he's arrived yet.
Wallace, how encouraged were you with the way the secondary played on Saturday? Just all the injuries you had, it seemed like no matter who you put in there, you guys were able to still those guys are still able to play really well.
Yeah, I thought the guys competed. You know, like we were talking about earlier with Goose and EB and Reggie, and, you know, Seth Kearns jumped in, and Duran's in. You know, I mean, they're working, and you know, I have a ton of confidence in what they're being coached, and how can they take the coaching and continue to apply it and continue to get better. But I've liked their approach. We got to keep growing there.